Hey folks, um, I got to do a thing. So I realize I don't have my camera on right now. Well, actually, I'll just use I'll just use the camera that's here. And
Hey folks.
oh, 1 second. There we go. So I'm also monitoring as I'm streaming. This is the camera, not that I need to look at. My name is Alim Ghaffar. I am one of the organizers, or actually the current organizer owner of Meteor NYC meetup. It's been a number of years since we have had a live meetup. What we've been doing is we have been doing our meetups as YouTube streams lately. So we on Fridays we also live stream our podcast. With me today, I have Jan Dvorak, and what we should be doing is we should be switching and swapping out of the controls. Jan is in Czech Republic. It's late in the afternoon, I think, right now in Czechia. Is that correct, Jan?
Yeah, just after 5 p.m., so all fine.
So hang on 1 second. And this is me for those of you who want to see. All right, and let me switch back here. So today we're doing a lunch and learn. We've done a few of these in the past, and we have done similar type events live in New York City. Since COVID, it's been really tough trying to get a critical mass and then getting a location to host live events. If you know of any venue that would be willing to give us space to host a live event, we'd be happy to use that. And I would love to start coming back into Manhattan again to do so. So with that, today we have a presentation, and this is our back to basics. We're going to go back to talking about what MeteorJS is, and how you get it, how you install it, and then what you can do with it, and the use cases that make it relevant to you. Now, one last thing I need to do here as I set up, I'm not really 100% with this all the time, is I need to get the chat running. So I know that we have somebody in our chat right now. I believe we have Ariel in the chat, and I believe that there were two other people that wanted to join us. So, we are live now. Hey, Ariel. Okay. And so one of the things I want to do is, one of the things we've done in the past also is we have also just run these lunch and learns as Google Meets. But the thing is, like, we never get to record what we've done. We never get to save the information that we get from people that have attended. So now we figured one of the ways we can make these events useful is by, I keep staring at that camera, and it's really here that I need to be looking. And one of the things we really need to do is find a way to reuse the sessions that we run. Often we're going to be doing the same things because we're trying to introduce MeteorJS to people that have not encountered it before, have not used it before. And Ariel said hi. I'm going to just pop that up here. So, hey. So, kind of curious to know if anybody who might be in the chat have had experience with Meteor before, because this is very much a beginner talk, and we'll try to accommodate whatever knowledge you have. Okay? So, with that, let me get started with the presentation. Oh, it's right in front of me. All right, so it's Meteor Lunch and Learn online today. You know that I should have a screen here that introduces us, but this is brought to you from the meetup. If you are watching and you've come to the channel, and some people actually come to the MeteorJS New York YouTube channel without actually being part of the meetup, if you would like to join that meetup, by all means, this is the link to it. This is where you'd go. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover a little bit about what Meteor is, its background. There has been a change in MeteorJS in the last year in terms of how it's structured, and so it has an impact on the code that you write. And we're going to talk about that. That's going from the 2 series, or the 1 and 2 series of MeteorJS, which is legacy Meteor, to contemporary modern MeteorJS, which is the 3 series. And Jan is here. He actually worked on it, so he will be able to give you a little more information, probably beyond what I'm able to do here. So this is what we're trying to do, is convey that. What I was hoping to do was have a live coding session today, but we're not quite there yet. So what I am going to show you is what we plan on doing for the next Lunch and Learn. And so it's going to tell you the app that we're going to build and the parameters that we're going to cover in it, so that you could see just how simple it is to get started with MeteorJS. Let me take that back a second. I want to say it's relatively simple. There are a lot of things that you can do with MeteorJS that would require writing a ton more code if you did not have the platform. And it would require understanding a lot more about how things work, how to move data, and so on. So let me just say that it's a relative simplicity rather than an absolute one. It still requires technical skill, and it also requires knowledge of JavaScript. So if you're a JavaScript newbie, I would say spend some time learning more JavaScript, getting comfortable with the syntax of it, using it not only on the client side, but also on the server side with Node.js. And I would say that if you do this, and I would suggest that you do it before you get started with MeteorJS. Some people would say you could do it concurrently. I think you should do a little of that before. Then you will have a better experience when you actually confront Meteor. Okay, so what is Meteor? I've said before, it's a full stack JavaScript platform. And when I say that, it means that you write JavaScript all the way through, and you serve the client all the way through. You know, you write your client code, the interface that the user interacts with, your business logic in the middle tier, as they would call it in the typical 3-tier architecture. And then you would have your database. And your database, you don't have to think about, you don't have to do anything about. MeteorJS gives you one, and it's MongoDB. And MongoDB's query syntax is JavaScript, basically. So that's what you have to remember. It's a full stack JavaScript platform. Some of the key features are you get real-time updates, meaning that as soon as you make a change to the UI or to the data that's presented in the UI, it propagates and updates to every other user who has that client open, who is subscribed to that information. So MeteorJS uses a publish subscribe pattern. There is this notion of a unified client and server, as I said before. We have this notion, and it's called isomorphic programming. And so you can write code that'll execute both in the client, the interface side, as well as on the server side. And there is a simple data fetching protocol called DDP that allows low latency, high throughput transfer of just the information that is being updated on the platform, on the application, I'm sorry. And we'll cover a little bit about Meteor's ecosystem. I've mentioned a little bit about it so far, and some of the use cases that you might encounter using Meteor. When does it make sense to use it? Where might you not want to use it? You might want to use something else. Okay. Jan, do you want to add anything here?
No, if I had anything more, I think it would just needlessly complicate it at this point. So
okay,
all right.
Fine. So let's go on. So some of the reasons why you might want to use Meteor, and if you go to the MeteorJS, and I have an issue with the word Meteor, because Meteor is an overloaded word. In computer science, the concept of overloading means you use the same thing for many, many different purposes. It's usually used in reference to operators. But in this case, I'm using it in terms of the terminology. The platform, if you look into the history of it, the platform is actually described both as Meteor and MeteorJS. We tend to use MeteorJS here on among ourselves in terms of the community organizers, because it allows for a more precise search space when you're searching in Google, when you're searching on YouTube, when you're searching on any environments where the term MeteorJS is being used, it gives you specifically information related to the JavaScript platform that we're talking about. When you use Meteor, you might get all sorts of astronomical, information that is not at all relevant to this. Plus, there are many, many other applications, including gaming apps, that use the term Meteor. So, this is a screenshot from the MeteorJS, from the Meteor Software website. Meteor Software is the company that is behind the platform, the open source platform that we can all use for free. Okay, so why use MeteorJS? Well, you get real-time updates. There are remote procedure calls, APIs, that you can use using Meteor methods. Okay, it's front-end agnostic, and one of the things we're going to show you is that although we'll talk often about the native UI, which is Blaze.js, today most applications that are written, that you'll see examples of, will be written with React. But you can also write front ends with Vue.js, Blaze, Svelte, Solid, and I think there might be a couple more. We'll look into that in a couple of minutes. I have a screenshot for that. You can run your app as a web application. You can do it as a mobile app. You can run it as a desktop hosted application. The great thing about MeteorJS is that you don't have to do a huge amount of configuration. So a lot of what you would have to do with other, let's call them mini platforms or frameworks, is you would have to assemble all the pieces together, write a build script to, put all the pieces that you are working with together, and then ship some code. And finally, JavaScript, as you might know, is not a type-safe language. And so in order to introduce type safety, Microsoft created a language called TypeScript, which is basically a superset on JavaScript, and MeteorJS utilizes it. You can actually write your code in TypeScript, and it will work. I'm going to turn over to Jan for a little more elaboration on any of these points that I've made so far. And
let's see, I'll start from the end with the TypeScript support.
Sure.
By default, it's what I would call weak TypeScript support. So normally, if you run TypeScript, all the types and everything has to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, it will go like, no, I'm not running until you have it perfect. The default or the official package for TypeScript is, I could say, weak in Meteor. So, if you don't have your types perfectly, or if you have mix of, other packages that you don't know the types, you can still run, and they are there mostly for you as a help. So that's one thing, but you can also switch that up. There's a community package that has the strict TypeScript, which won't allow you to do that. And
so you can fine tune it, is what you're saying.
Yes.
By default, it comes weak, but if you want stronger TypeScript support, you can use outside packages to do so.
Yes, and I think that what you said, the fine tuning, that kind of applies to everything
Yes.
here. Of course, you can start with zero config, but obviously, then if you want to get more into the weeds and more advanced stuff, you will start doing more configuration, either in the settings file or elsewhere. Right. Front-end agnostics is already fine-tuning, though you probably want to stick to one of the more popular implementations there. You have the real-time updates via Meteor's publication subscription. But as you advance, you will probably add something like Apollo GraphQL to handle the data that does not have to be real time, because big thing to remember, especially once you start scaling up, real time has a cost to it, especially when it comes to the server performance. So then you have to kind of make more advanced choices when it comes comes to that, and selecting what data gets sent
Yeah.
in what. And there's not just Apollo GraphQL, but there are also other options available for that.
We should probably hold off on going too far into the weeds here, because again, this is a beginner thing and we don't want to overwhelm everybody. But the point is that there are ways to take MeteorJS out of the box. You can build applications with it today with it the way it is. But if you need it to be fine-tuned or adapted to your specific needs, your load use cases, your usage patterns, you can do that. If you want to make sure that you want to have control over the size of your final build or the things that are in it, you can do that too, but you don't have to. And I think that's the benefit that you get with MeteorJS today. Okay.
I think there's a good always reminder that at the end of the day, Meteor is built on top Node with Express. So you get all the benefits and drawbacks of having Node and Express. So plus the extra Meteor stuff. And sometimes people are always like looking for the silver bullet, or how do you want to call it, or that's something that's going to handle everything. And it's going to work, flawlessly. It's going to be super fast and handle all the scenarios. And again, that depends on how you build your application.
So let me move on from here. Okay, and whoops, I'm in another screen. So we talked about Meteor's integration and the different things that work with it. So let me just step here for a second and step back here for a second and just kind of point out the front ends that Meteor works with today are React, Vue, Svelte. Blazor.js is the, as I mentioned before, is the native front end that was built with MeteorJS. It has been separated and it's now its own project, but it basically works very, very well with Meteor and, of course, Solid.js. In terms of design tools, you have Tailwind. I'm not sure, and Chakra UI, I'm not sure what Flowbyte is. Do you know what Flowbyte is?
Let me quickly
refresh
myself.
Vite is a build tool. So there is a native build tool that is used to take all the different code pages and program files and your CSS and your HTML, bundle it together, and then produce an output that can be that is then targeted as a Node application, and then that can be run on some data center someplace.
Yeah,
whether it's on your machine or elsewhere.
Yeah. So for Flowbyte, that's just components built on top Tailwind CSS. And to add kind of on to the Vite, that's something you can. Meteor has its own bundler. That's one of the reasons why I love it, so that I don't have to deal with setting up my bundling, my build system, all of that stuff. But you can switch it out for Vite, and there is a lot of talk and experimentation in regards of replacing the old Meteor bundler with Vite. But Meteor has a few specific things that right now are not in Vite, so we'll have that's something I have to kind of take into account.
Sure. So let me get back to the rest of these. Did I just switch my screen? I did, didn't I? Okay, this is not a good thing. Where am I now? Hang on. I have lost myself for a second here. I don't know why it should have done that. You know why? Because I don't have it just on that tab. I have it on other things. So as I'm working on other things while you were chatting, it swapped me out. So, okay, that's my fault. All right, so so let's talk a little bit about Meteor and where Meteor is. And actually, I think I might want you to run with this a little bit, Jan. So for a long time, and I guess for about 2 or 3 years, we went from a Meteor 1 series, which was for about maybe 4 or 5 years, the standard platform that we're running on. And then there was a lot of work that was done in Meteor 2. And there was a limitation that we ran into with Meteor 2. Meteor 2 had a hard stop in terms of being able to support a feature called fibers. Fibers allowed for and I'm always going to get this wrong, right? Fibers allowed for synchronous behavior in your application with async type code. I'm not. Yeah. So the thing was, this package was supported all the way up to Node 14, and then after Node 14, it wasn't supported anymore, and that kept MeteorJS from going forward and evolving. You notice I have the word Meteor here. I haven't updated my notes so that it uses MeteorJS instead of Meteor. But so the team looked at this and said the only way we can go forward is we use a modern method of handling this, and that was to move things to the current node promises mechanism, which utilize the async and await keywords for wrapping your code. So this was a breaking change. This happened the work on this started about 2 years ago, and the big transition began, what was it, at the end of last year or the beginning of this year?
Last year for sure. There's been so many things. So
yeah.
Now it's going to be, let me actually go back and check the documentation exactly when we had this release, but just so that I know. So Meteor 3 was in summer of 2024. That was the release on July 15th, after 2 or 3 years of work. And latest one is from March 18th. That's the 3.2 version.
3.2, yes. So some of the key changes that came around, besides, the main one, as I mentioned before, was how we handle synchronous code in your application. And I'm going to leave it to Jan to kind of like do a little walkthrough on synchronous versus asynchronous behavior. So, but some of the other things that had to happen with that in terms of migrating from 2 to 3 were, changes to the support packages or the Meteor packages. There are very specific packages. Meteor uses NPM node packages as part of its capability, but it also has its own packaging tool that it really addresses the very specific features of MeteorJS itself. And then there were a number of performance enhancements that were also included, and some changes to how the database is handled, mostly in support of these asynchronous calls. And then, of course, some of the features were deprecated, but I don't remember which ones they were off the top of my head.
Those were mostly features that were already deprecated since Meteor 0 series, and some from Meteor 1. Or actually, sorry, those were removed. And we had some deprecation. Let me some breaking stuff, because going from fibers to async await also meant that there were some things that you just could not make in a nice way, and had to be breaking. So there's quite a big list, but once you can understand how it works, the general idea, then it was very straightforward to upgrade. And I think if you're deciding which version of Meteor to go with Meteor 3, because Meteor 2 support is ending in a couple of months.
Yes.
So that's very straightforward. The biggest change, as you mentioned, was the handling of async code, going from fibers, where you could just, for example, if we go for MongoDB, we could have the finds or the inserts, deletes. We could just have them like a functions with the return, and that's it. Of course, without fibers, that meant we would have to move to the async version. So we had to have the function to be asynchronous. We had to have a wait and everything else around it. So that's kind of the big change that has happened there.
That is correct. So let's see. Is there anything else here that I want to talk about? Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's move on. All right, I have to keep remembering which screen I'm on. So here we go. Okay, and I noticed Ariel mentions or asked, is this only for JavaScript? I responded, yes, MeteorJS is only JS or TypeScript, which is also JavaScript. I should mention that, and I think the support is still there for a variant of JavaScript called CoffeeScript. And years ago, there were people that would write code in CoffeeScript, and I think they've been removing some of that code from the Meteor core. I don't know how much people are using CoffeeScript anymore. I haven't heard anybody talk about it.
I know at least one holdout when it comes to CoffeeScript.
Do you really?
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Indeed.
That's crazy. All right. So some of the core concepts in MeteorJS, as I mentioned earlier, is it uses MongoDB, and MongoDB is a document database. Relational databases use tables, and the entries are put in rows, and you have columns that are used to assign the specific data for what they call attributes of that particular entry. So in your table, you have these columns. They define what the attributes of that table are, and the table usually represents some kind of an entity or something, right? And MongoDB uses a different model. It uses JSON as its way of structuring the data, and each JSON item is called, instead of a table, we have collections of them. So they call them your several JSON objects that are in there that represents each thing is the thing that holds all those things. Well, let me I'm confusing things. So each JSON object is called a document. So document database. And then documents roll up and collect them together in what they call collections. And a collection, the equivalent would be a table. A document would be your row in a relational database. So that is how you might think about it. And then each of your columns in your database would be what's called a field in a document database. The document databases are not flat. They can be structured hierarchically. And I should have had an example on the screen here so that this is just not speaking abstractly. I apologize. Next time I do this, I will have that there so that you can see what I've got. But it uses this publish subscribe pattern as its basic underlying mechanism for how information is moved back and forth and viewed from the server all the way over to the client. It includes methods and RPC calls for handling business logic, right? So unlike REST APIs, Meteor uses methods, or what we call the Meteor methods, for client-server interaction, and they provide a simpler way for handling the business logic while keeping things real-time. The Meteor package system is used to extend the functionality of the Meteor platform itself. It allows you to extend your application with built-in and community-made packages. The built-in packages are what we call the core packages. But the community has built a number of different ones. For example, some of your core packages that you get are things like authentication. So you don't have to write your own authentication protocols or methods. They're available for you. Just include them. And Jan, are the authentication? I'm sorry. Are the accounts packages part of core, or are they being rolled into core? What's the story there?
Yeah, they have been always part of the core offering of Meteor. I think one of the most interesting things for Meteor, and we have constantly new improvements going for that. This year, we also plan to add support for hardware keys and similar things, but we have already, the passwords. You have OAuth logins available, passwordless, and
so
any other. It has everything that you need to manage that.
Right. So you can include, for instance, Google. What do they call that again? I'm losing the word right now.
OAuth.
Yeah, Google OAuth or Facebook. And a few other providers that are there are available right away. You just do a Meteor add accounts -Google for the Google OAuth, right? And you can all of a sudden now you have that capability to use Google as your way to have somebody authenticate into the application. And of course, it does its own password. And it gives you a little UI also if you do Meteor add accounts-UI, you get a really simple UI that allows you to put in username and password. So it's really powerful from that point of view that that you can just very, very quickly build an application that has login very, very easily and get that up and running within an hour. Probably even less time if you don't want to do a lot of other work with it. So that's part of the account system. Supports email, password, auth providers, and custom authentication solutions. So these allow you to build real-time applications with minimal effort. You want to add anything else here, or should I move on to the next slide?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, too many things. So one of the places that you could go to see some use cases for Meteor is you could go to the meteor.com/showcase website, and that will take you to a list of applications. And let me see about just doing that here, for instance. And meteor.com/showcase. Right? Yeah. And so it shows applications that are built with MeteorJS. Okay. And so who do we have here? We have Forage. I don't know who they are. Okay. We have Weekend. I never get this right. How do you say it? Is it Weekend or Weekend? Weekend, right?
I would say as a weekend, but
which is a Trello clone. We have Leggy, which is used in the private equity space. Favro, which is also, I believe, very much like Weekend. It's sort of a Trello-ish application. And then there's Azimuta and Eleno. I don't know who they are exactly, but there are other ones here, some of which we've had some experience with before. I don't see, here we go. AnyRun is a security one. Let's see who else. What is Boomcards?
Rocket Chat.
Rocket Chat is a big one. Rocket Chat is a chat-based solution that is built with MeteorJS. And there are some other ones here. What is the real estate one that I'm looking for? I don't see it here. But in any case, there are a number of different use cases. You can build pretty much any application you want with MeteorJS. Should you? It really depends. So that is something that you would have to look into for yourselves. Okay. And there is also, if you want to, go to I maintain a Flipboard application. And Flipboard is a site where you can build magazines. And let me just do Flipboard. Let me see if I can just find the URL for this. I thought that was here on this, but it's not unless I'm seeing it and I'm just not noticing it. Hang on. And where are my Meteor website one? And the URL, oh, yeah. So there was a QR code here before. I think I erased it accidentally. So I'll have to get that back. I'm sorry. But I'll if you're interested in it, just send me a note in the chat and I will make the link available. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can do that right now with the link.
I found it.
You found the link? Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to drop it into the chat here. Right. There we go. And there it is. It should pop up in a minute. Okay. So that's the Flipboard where you can see a number of different Meteor apps in the wild. And that'll give you some idea of how people are using it. So what I wanted to do, and which we didn't get around to doing here, is I wanted to do a live coding session, which was going to be a small application where people could submit ideas, typically for maybe features for a website, an app, something, maybe ideas for if you run some kind of community organization, how you can improve, right, the organization, and then allow people to vote on each of those submissions. So the goal was to build this application where anyone can see the list of ideas that are submitted and the number of votes that each one has received, but only people that are logged in can submit ideas. And if and users can, if you're logged in, you can filter and see just your own ideas or the whole set of ideas. I would leave it as an exercise to do an addition to that filter where you see ideas that are not your own, right, alone without yours. And then users can vote on any of the ideas, but they can't move a vote once they voted on it. And that would be an exercise for a future time where if you wanted to be able to remove your vote, you could add that control in. And then, add security and permissions to the application so that you can't modify other people's ideas. You can only modify your own, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to hold off on this until the next Lunch and Learn. And then we're going to do that together. And we'll do live debugging also if the code doesn't quite work. So I have an application. I haven't fully tested it. I wanted to get it ready. And I think there were going to be just too many issues today to do that. So if you're interested in this, please let me know in the chat. And we will definitely do it the next time. If this is not so interesting to you, what you would get out of it, by the way, is you would have, at the end of it, you'll get to work and code along with us, but also you would have access to the GitHub repository that has the code for this application. And then there would be some, take-home homework that you could do to, further improve your coding skills with MeteorJS. So that's the goal for the next time. All right.
Sounds good. And Alim, for number 4, you can get inspired by an existing package called Socialize Votable. So
excellent. So yeah, when I
use it as well as
pop in and we can see about including that. It may be that what we do is develop this app in stages, sort of build it as a raw Meteor application, and then we add package features. Maybe we build our own and then we remove it and we put in a package feature, something that's a lot more robust, right? So people can see how they might implement it, but then how they can use something that's already there in the community so they don't have to, build the wheel again. Although I think that there is some value in building the wheel again when you're learning, So it allows you to really understand how things work. So I wouldn't tell you to shy away from that entirely, but certainly you could use this as a basis for any application once we're done with it, any application that you want to take and build out further. Okay. So one of the other things I wanted to mention is there is a tutorial that we have online that was done by one of our members. Hang on a second here. Whoops. His name is Harry Adele, and I'm going to copy this link, and I'm going to drop it into the chat also. Okay. And Harry has also, because I don't have my tutorial that I was going to run through today, Harry has a really good getting started tutorial for Meteor. So if you want to go take a look at this video and then go actually do the tutorial, you'll learn quite a bit. And next time around, you'll build a different app. So that's kind of my pitch there. And so finally, on top of that, I just want to say that takeaways today is that MeteorJS is a full stack JavaScript platform with real-time capabilities, allowing for real-time updates, authentication, permissions. You get that out of the box with MeteorJS. It uses MongoDB as its backend to implement that reactivity, uses publication subscriptions and methods to simplify the development to allow that reactivity to happen. It allows for the creation of a full stack application simply. It's ideal for MVPs and for hackathons. Some of the earliest what is that called? Cryptocurrency applications were built with MeteorJS, believe it or not. And I think that's partly because it is very easy to get a full application running and in use. But there are plenty of other production applications that are out there that are using MeteorJS. For a very long time, the MeteorJS website, the Meteor software website itself ran on MeteorJS. I don't think that's the case anymore, but it did, and it was sort of the single space that you could go to see like a high volume, high traffic website that was running on MeteorJS, and you could use that as an example or inspiration to build your own applications. And finally, the MeteorJS application package environment, and there are two places that you can go. You can go to Atmosphere or Packosphere to add packages, and you can build your own packages and add them to that package system. It is community-based. So if you want to learn more, you can head over to the Meteor docs at docs.meteor.com. And there are a number of different communities, tools and tutorials, forums, GitHub, and YouTube. Forums are here. And if you want to sign up for the Slack that many of us are on, you can go there. And from there, you'll get access to a number of different resources. So again, we have also a separate community channel for MeteorJS, which is separate from this channel that you're on right now. But we typically will duplicate streams that we do at MeteorJS NYC to MeteorJS, to the MeteorJS community to MeteorJS NYC. I noticed it's only MeteorJS NYC here and not the community channel. So this is what we've got. This is where we are. And oops, that is me shilling my company. So anyway, I want to thank you all for being here. If you have any questions, let me go back to here for a second. If you have any questions that you want to ask, please, we're here for that now. So other than that, if we don't hear back from you in a couple of minutes, we'll chat among ourselves. And if we don't hear back from you in a couple of minutes, I think what we'll do is we'll end the stream, and thank you for joining us today. So Jan, let me get rid of this this element here that's on the screen so that we can see our beautiful faces here. I'm sure people have nothing better to do than to say that they want to see what we look like. And who are these guys, these dudes that are up here talking about MeteorJS and what you can do with it. So Jan, you also run a channel that is dedicated to Meteor, that is separate from this channel, and also separated from the community channel. I'm gonna find the community channel in a minute and share that also. But so do you have let's see.
So to correct you, it's my personal channel.
Mhm.
It's mostly dedicated to Meteor and tech stuff.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been exploring AI in the context of Meteor and around that. But for example, my Tuesday stream was kind of stream of a consciousness with AI and exploring one potential scenario for my sci-fi series, which I wanted to really get back to writing,
Yeah.
and kind of looking at it. And I think the biggest takeaway from that, for example, was that with the AI, if you know about the specific topic, then you can kind of see where the AI is drawing the inspiration for what is it saying. So
Mhm.
that was very interesting. So it's a big mix, but mostly it's Meteor.
Very good. So I didn't know if you wanted to show where the channel is while you're on here or not. I'm gonna show the MeteorJS community channel in a second. Let me just pop that up.
So my channel is similar to the username down here at Storyteller CZ. So you will probably see there if you go there. I have also videos from my travels in Japan and anything else that came about.
Yeah,
So
but the interest I think people are going to have is in things that are related to Meteor. So this is
so we will have to go to the live section for that mostly.
Yeah. So this is the MeteorJS community channel. It is, if you're able to see, let me just get this over here and drop this into the live stream chat also. So this is our main channel, and every Friday we do a live stream on it, and we discuss things that are related to Meteor, JavaScript, and we often will have live code, or we might have people from the Meteor software team that show up and discuss updates and changes and new things that are happening to MeteorJS. So if you want to stay abreast of what's going on, you can go there. But as I mentioned before, since the year began, we have been also simulcasting to this channel, the Meteor NYC, MeteorJS NYC channel that you're on right now. All right. And I don't know if Ariel is still with us. Ariel, do you have any questions for us? Or did we answer anything for you? Are there specific things that we could have given you some response to? I mean, we'll even pull you into the channel here on with us if you're interested in joining us. I'll give you the link if you want to join us, and you can pop into the channel, and you could have a conversation with us. Tell us what what you're looking for. All right. So let me do that right now. How do I get the channel information here?
I just have to quickly step back
Sure.
for a moment. I'll be right back.
Not a problem. Okay. So let's see what I got here. Maybe work on more VC. Okay. Visual Studio. Okay. Hang on one second. Let me just. Where is? Too many tabs. Slack. Okay. Hang on 1 second here. All right. And okay. Okay. All right. Hang on one sec. That's bad. 1 second. 1 second. Copy link address. This is the one. So, Ariel, if you'd like to join us, and we can have a conversation here. Normally we run these things on Google Meet, so we actually chat with people. I really like, the reason I'm a meetup host is because I like meeting people, and I like sharing with them, and I also like finding out what they're about, what they want to do, what they're interested in, and so on. So chat is fun, but if you would like to pop in here with us, be happy to have you. So I put the link in the stream. And hey,
Hi.
how are you? Well,
Uh,
my camera is here. I'm looking
I'm
over
good.
here because that's where I can see you. But
Yeah. Right.
so, hi. Are you so have you been using JavaScript for a long time? Have you been writing code for a while? What's the story here?
I've been doing code for a year now.
Okay.
And I've been trying to. I'm getting ready for a class in 2 weeks.
Okay.
It starts on the 8th. It's for mobile desktop, and we're going to be using Visual Code.
Visual
Studio?
Studio Code. Yeah.
Yeah, Visual Studio Code. Sorry, VS Code.
Okay.
And I've been using something called Free Code Camp to relearn CSS and HTML.
Sure.
It's helping. I'm saving most of my work, putting them on my computer, sending them to my other computer so that I have them on both a Mac and a PC.
Sure.
And yeah, for the time being, I've been trying to find meetups that talk about coding and like networks and how to find jobs in such a vast subject.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What kind of role are you looking for?
web development. I'm doing a full stack. So
Okay.
I want to do either front end or back end or even just design.
Do you have a preference? I know sometimes when you're starting and you're looking for a job, you're sort of like, I'll take anything. But
Yeah. I do like design the most. So front end, I guess, the most.
Sure.
Because we get to use more JavaScript and CSS. So HTML is like wild when it comes to coding, so it's like actually really astounding how much you can put into that one.
Sure. Have you started putting together a portfolio for yourself?
Yeah, I just started to create a landing page as well as a website.
Sure.
For myself, but like yeah, it's been slow.
No, I know that can be frustrating, but I think one of the
I
best.
enjoy it. I mean, I really
Okay,
enjoy coding, so it's like
All right.
fun because you get to learn all these things. But slow is not really on my radar right now.
Yeah. Where have you been looking? Have you been looking at like design firms, ad firms, advertising firms, places that I would suggest that
Mostly.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I've been doing mostly startups.
Mostly startups. Okay. So, have you had success with that?
Not exactly, because first I need to like get everything ready, and I also heard that unlike other interviews, these are more vigorous because they often do like tests with coding to see if you have the skills. Like you can't just have the certificate; you have to have the skills to be able to work there. So they give you these like coding interviews.
Yeah.
So
Depending on the startup that you go to work for, they may either when you're doing a startup, I've worked in startups for many years, and when you're doing a startup and it's a very small core team, it's not like there are different levels of startups, right? I worked for MongoDB for a while. MongoDB was, I would say, when I came in, had over 300 employees. Even though they called themselves a startup, they hadn't gone public yet. They weren't, revenue positive. They were more like an established company. They had different departments, they had different groups, and so on. So that was a different situation. I worked with startups that had 5 people. I've worked at startups that had 15 people, right? And in those places, they often require you to have a fairly experienced set of skills because you have to, as they say, hit the ground running.
Mhm.
So startups may be tough when you're just starting out.
Right. So I should do something more like Microsoft or ad agencies.
I think agencies might be the way to go. Some agencies, and I remember there were a couple of them that used to do what was called, pairing. And so, if you can find an agency like that, that'll be great, because what they do is they usually put a less experienced person with a more experienced person on an account,
Mhm.
and it's almost like an apprenticeship type situation.
So
So
we're coding, right? To work on
no, you do coding. You're coding, but you have somebody more experienced that's kind of going to help you, guide you,
Oh,
right?
a
To make
senior.
sure. Yes,
Right.
exactly. Right. So that's I think that kind of team dynamic is the thing that, if I were starting over, I would want to look for. I'm trying to remember. It began with a P. There was a company that used to do this that was very famous in Manhattan.
Mhm.
I don't know what happened to them after COVID, but
Mhm.
but certainly that's someplace that you might want to look. Um, but I think one of the things that's going to help you, because it's going to help get you through the gate, is just putting together a small portfolio of some examples of the work that you do, and it'll give you a chance to work on your own skills, even if you don't have them right now. It'll allow you to demonstrate certain skills. So,
I know, like,
landing page is a good one. Go ahead.
yeah. Tribute page, landing page.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
You might want to go and take a look at, I mean, think about the kind of work that you might want to do, and then go find a website that has that, and then try to duplicate it with your own work, right?
Okay.
And then you list out, like, here are the tools I used, here are the libraries I'm familiar with, here's what it is that I did. And it's, unfortunately, it's a little bit of a slog to go from zero to getting a job. So,
I
that is
mean,
the hard part.
the class that I'm going for, I think, is pretty extensive. It's going to be throughout the whole summer. So
Is it like a boot camp?
yeah,
Okay. Do they help with job placement at this boot camp?
yes. I just have to make an appointment for interviewing and job
Okay.
creation.
All right. I mean, they tend to have credibility, right? So the thing is, if they're saying, well, we're going to help you, and they've placed other people in the past, then that helps get you in the door. So,
Okay.
that's certainly something to look towards. But, learning your tools, like, if you're hearing that VS Code is used a lot, and it is, um, then it's certainly a tool that you want to get familiar with. So I don't
Also,
know
that's
any other way than to just use it a lot. Um, Learn the shortcuts, like the key shortcuts, like the
okay.
keystroke shortcuts.
Right. The
Those are
key.
things that are going to, improve your productivity, and
Okay.
also make you seem a lot more experienced when you're
Right.
when you're sitting down with somebody.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. And then there are, I know that you want to work with CSS. So I think learning CSS is great. I've always found CSS to be hard in terms of, like, placing things,
It has a lot of math involved, I believe.
Yeah, so I've used other tools in the past to help me get over that, like Bootstrap or Foundation.
Hmm.
But there are other tools out there. I think, like, there's Tailwind CSS that allows you to write CSS as code. I'm not
Mhm.
very familiar with it. I don't know if Jan has used it. I'm going to turn this over.
I don't use Tailwind because it's just what I would call class pollution. Just write too many classes and you don't really actually deal with the CSS until you have to do
You
something
don't like
yourself.
class?
Well, no,
No.
the classes that you put to the HTML. So it's
Yeah, I know,
like
I know.
all the
You-
different things. And at one point, it's like, I just want to have,
Yeah, I
padding,
noticed that
some
there's a lot of
margin,
class. That's
and
why we use JavaScript to not
Yeah.
think of the classes.
So it's, there's a lot to learn. I think you can get overwhelmed very quickly. Just try to build useful things and don't worry about like what specific things in JavaScript you might not know yet. Master like your basics and then add things as you go and then use them as you
That's what
go.
I was thinking of doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
class is coming, so that's why I'm trying to get
sure.
at least all of the HTML and CSS out.
Yeah. So, tools like MeteorJS are really, really helpful for building things very quickly. If you don't have a lot of experience or a lot of knowledge with JavaScript and how it works, then you can build very useful things, but then you might run into a roadblock
Mm-hmm.
figuring out how do you make it work better? How do you
Right.
extend it?
Mhm.
I think, though, that there is still some usefulness with just playing with Meteor because in doing that, what will you learn? Well, if you pick a front end, the biggest front end today that's out there that everybody uses is React. I don't
Okay.
like using React because I find React to be very complicated. It started out being relatively simple. It had a fairly simple paradigm. And today, to me, it's as complicated as Angular was 5 years ago. But both of these are used in a lot of different corporations. There are a lot of legacy applications that are running them. And there's tooling. And, I think whenever you start seeing front ends that require a lot of tooling to get something done, it starts getting, it becomes its own thing and it becomes complicated. I like Vue because of its simplicity. Other people like Svelte and Solid because, again, they are far more they're far simpler than in terms of how to build things with it than React. React may be more powerful in some ways. I don't know, but Jan, you build with React, correct?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
what the world eats today, but I think if if you pick React, you might be on the learning curve for a while, right? Unless Jan, do you know any simple tutorials that teach React in a very fundamental and simple way that you could build UIs effectively, component-based UIs effectively without requiring like a lot of other React tooling like hooks and stuff like that?
And I
I
could
would
just buy the books, right?
I would
Sorry?
recommend the official guides and tutorials on the React documentation site, and that I think that's a good start. And then it kind of depends on how you want to proceed with React. What kind of CSS library you want to use, if Tailwind or something like that. Then there is. It's been a while. What's the
All right, I'm looking at the React Learn website, and it does look a little more straightforward than I've given it credit for.
they
So
have improved quite a
yeah,
lot, but there is also
Ariel, I dropped the link to it in the chat. So take a quick look and see if you find it approachable or not.
It's pretty approachable.
Okay.
Big letters. It has all of the codes in front of you.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you take a look at it, do you think this is confusing, or do you find it
No, I'm starting to feel like it's like similar to HTML, which is also a big clusterfuck at sometimes.
Yeah. So the idea behind React is you can componentize different parts of your HTML application. And the thing with React is, and this is sort of, this ran against a long-standing view in programming, which is that you should keep your UI code separate from your logic. And this kind of blends them in together. So if
Yeah,
you
that's what I noticed. I've seen CSS and JavaScript and HTML going up in one colony.
Exactly. So it's, you've got these things in here, and
I mean, I just kind of like it because it gives all of them.
Right. No, that's great. That's great, because if you don't find this to be like, this is not the way we're supposed to do things, if you don't have that reaction, you're going to adapt this far easier than I did, right? And I worked with it until React 16, and then I left. I don't use it. But I don't do a lot of software development myself anymore. I do, AI work now. But
I'm not there yet at all.
What?
I'm not at AI yet.
No. It's I don't do web apps. I do business logic stuff instead.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm all that. My interest is in something else. I spent 20 grand on a boot camp for data science, so that's why that's where my head is most of the time. But I've been part of this community for over a decade.
Mine's around 8,000.
What?
The camp I'm going for is around 8,000.
That's great. That's better. No, I picked something specifically, and then they went out of it. I'm not even going to go into that anymore. But it was a very reputable place, and then all of a sudden, like I think at the end of COVID, they decided that they're going to wrap up.
That sucks.
But it's okay. It's fine. But in any case, I built stuff. Just do a couple of things here and there. Just give yourself a deadline. Also, try to just build something in a week, and see how it goes. And if it's not 100%, just don't beat yourself up over it. Just figure out
Just keep going.
What do you need to learn? Like, what is it that's holding you back, right? And just keep on building things, and then add it to your portfolio.
Right.
And then you have something to show, because I think most of the time when people are hiring, they want to see what you've done, what you're capable of doing. So, don't wait for the class.
Just keep working.
Your portfolio. Yeah. And as you go through the class, and as you learn more, add to your portfolio.
Build it up more and more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. And then talk to anybody that you can, anybody that you can that's in the business.
Right.
If they have a job or whatever, just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. You want to check out my portfolio? Can you give me some feedback? Is there anything that I could do to make me more attractive as a potential employee? Just be like that. And then, if it's useful feedback, you'll know when people are just
BSing.
BSing, or just trying to put you down because they want to elevate themselves, right?
Yeah, that sucks.
Everybody starts someplace. There are people that are they lord themselves. If you run into that, just walk away. That's not going to be useful to you. You want things that are going to help you get to your next level.
Right.
Right. And I keep looking at my camera, which has a lens cap on it, right here. And it's really my laptop camera I should be looking at. I'm so stupid today. But
you seem like you have a lot on your mind, so it's okay.
No, well, we have a live show tomorrow, so there's work that we need to do there, and then there is another show that we were supposed to have done last week, which we didn't do, that I was going to broadcast this afternoon, and now I'm thinking I'm going to actually not broadcast it. I'm just going to record it and then release it. So, because it's just too much right now.
Right.
Jan knows. Jan's actually better at riffing than I am, so it's it is what it is. Jan used to be one of the organizers in New York. He used to live in New York. And then he went back to the Czech Republic. So that's many, many years now.
That was a good choice.
No, Jan prefers not to be in the Czech Republic. Oh, you mean for what's going on today?
Yeah.
It's
Keep
without getting into anybody's politics, it is chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
rather
last time I visited New York City, I was like, yeah, that's too much for me.
Yeah. It's
I,
I love New York, so I don't have a problem with it. So you're here in New York also?
yeah, I'm around New York. I'm from New Jersey. I
Okay.
live in Montclair.
Yeah, Montclair. Yeah. There's a really nice university there.
Oh yeah, I wanted to go. I went there actually for art.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I knew some graphic designers that went there and lived in Montclair and love the like artsy feel of the town.
yeah. It's nice. It's just now I need to go from graphics into coding graphics because that's literally like it's like always changing and everything is becoming
Yeah.
computerized. So like I have to get used to all of that shit too. So I'm like,
So do you do like artwork, graphic design artwork yourself?
yeah, I used to do a lot of Photoshop and Illustrator and After Effects, but like even that is changing.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd be surprised. There's still people that use it. There's still firms that use it. So I don't think it's a wasted skill. And I'm
Yeah, but
saying that because that's my daughter is doing this right now. So at university.
it's like all this but everything's becoming UX. Everything's becoming
Yeah.
like when I started to actually code more often, like around a year ago, I was well, not a year ago. Okay, 5 weeks ago, I was really surprised how CSS can really create literal graphics.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you can create a painting of a cat. You can use
Can you
all
really? I didn't
yeah.
realize
Yeah, that's one of the things that they're teaching right now.
that. Wow. Yeah, that part of software, you know, is not something that I spend a huge amount of time with. So anybody that could teach me more about that, I'm happy to learn and understand what's going on these days. But it's yeah, that's really different. And why I'm looking around all my screens here and not a single one can I see a clock. And I'm not trying to there we go, 125. So yeah. So yeah, it's the decision space that you have is really tough, right? Because you've got to figure out like exactly where you're going to go, and then you're not entirely sure that that's going to work out.
Plus, I'm living with my parents, and I'm like 33 years old, and I really want to get the hell out.
I
It's
understand.
just right now, housing is not affordable.
I know.
The job market is at the bottom of the barrel right now, I think. And even now, with jobs such as software engineering and graphic engineering and web development, web design, it's becoming everybody's going for it now. And
So let me ask you something. Is there any opportunity that you might have? I mean, you might have to think about doing some free work for a bit, but think about like who you do it for. So like, are there any nonprofit organizations that like a synagogue or a church or something that might need?
I mean, I could do a synagogue if I.
Yeah, just go to them and say, listen, I mean, if they have a website and there's something that they're missing that you could do some work on, offer, because then you'll have like a reference,
Right.
like a live reference.
It's a good reference too.
The other thing too is if you do that, I mean, there may be people within the congregants that may see your work or may hear about it if you talk to the rabbi or whoever. And you could say, look, I mean, I'm looking for work. I'm happy to do this so that you could show others what I can do. I'd be happy to do that as a give back. Is that something that you might be open to? I think sometimes you have to create your own opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that. I just have to push myself to speak.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard,
Even
but
now,
it's
doing
certainly
this sort of thing is really kind of excruciating for me. It's just I'm shy. I'm introverted, so it's hard to push yourself, especially when you know that it's the only way to get yourself further.
I know. I think Jan is pretty shy guy. I'm pretty shy guy. It doesn't seem that way to you, possibly, because I'm on camera. I didn't come on camera until like Jan forced me to. Okay, and I run meetups. It's kind of funny. People are gonna like listen to this. They're gonna hear all sorts of things because this is not. This is sort of off topic in a way, but it's okay. But I've run meetups for years, partly because I feel very unconfident sometimes in speaking about the technical things that I know, because I know that of the things I know, there's so much more I don't know, and I worry it's sort of like that imposter syndrome that I
Yeah.
might get questioned on something that like I'm not 100% confident on. No matter how much experience you have, right? There's always like, I think the thing that you find out is every time that you learn something, it's like peeling away the layers of the onion. It's like there's more, and it's like, how am I ever going to get there? And so for me personally, I've usually put together meetups because I bring other people that have knowledge, that feel confident in speaking, and I put them up, and that's what I can do, and I don't mind being the guy behind the scenes most of the times. But lately, for the last year, we've been doing this on camera, and it's forced me to come out and share what I know. And the great thing is I have two partners that when I don't know something, I can turn to them and say, hey, is there something I missed here that you want to bring something in and talk about? But if I didn't have them, I think I would have a harder time getting on camera and talking about a topic. So, it's the shyness is real, and sometimes you just have to kind of like swallow it a bit and just put yourself out there and just say, you know what? I mean, what's the worst that somebody can do is just they can either ignore you, they can turn away from you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to kind of like say, all right, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? And then just go out and do it. And then hopefully, it turns out that 9 times out of 10, it's a better result than the worst result that you thought you were going to have.
I mean, that's exactly what I think. Sometimes I find out that I'm a better speaker than I anticipate.
You're pretty articulate. I mean, you're saying the things that are on your mind, and it's coming out clear. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think do a couple of projects, get something up on a portfolio page that you could do. Do you have a GitHub account?
Not yet. I've just been messing around on my own computer, so most of my stuff is literally just on my server.
So there are 2 things that you want to learn how to do.
Yeah.
First of all, go create the GitHub account. Excuse me. You don't need GitHub to use Git, but you need to learn version control, because almost every place that's reputable where you're going to do your work is going to have their code in version control in Git. Okay. Git is the normal one. There are tons of other ones out there, but that is probably the most common one you're going to encounter. There's Mercurial, there's PVCS, PSVC, no.
CSV.
There's CSV, right? There's Personal Version Control System.
Some of them cost money, right?
Some do, but Git doesn't. Okay, and it's used everywhere. It's used in all the open source. I would say if you run into a company that uses a commercial version control, you'll, as long as you know how to use one, it pretty much translates. The commands will be different, but the concepts will be the same. Okay. So learn one, and if somebody says, well, we don't use that, we use this other thing, you could just say, well, I can learn it, and that's all you have to say, right?
Okay.
Because if you learn one, you can learn another. It's not like your brain is like single tracked, right? So so I would say learn how to use that. You can do it. You don't have to use it with code. You could do it with a document. You can have a text file where you've written something, and then you commit it to version control, and now it has that document in there. It's a snapshot, right? And then you go back into the document. Oh, I want to erase some lines. You erase some lines, and you commit that, right? And so then you might say, oh, those lines that I erased, I shouldn't have erased them, but they're gone now. Well, they're not really, because they were in an earlier commit. You can actually roll back to that earlier version and pull it back out. You want to practice doing things like that. It doesn't have to be code. It could be a document. It could just be a text file. The concepts and then the commands are what you really want to learn. Okay. So you want to learn that, and that's a great tool to have. There are plenty of people that are designers that don't know how to use version control. It'll be like an extra tool in your pocket. If you're working with a software team, they're all probably using version control. And if you can slot in and you know how to use their workflow, it's going to make you far more
valuable.
Okay.
Yeah.
But GitHub also allows you to create your own web page for yourself. And so that's where you can host your portfolio.
Right. Okay.
So,
that's what I'm thinking.
So I would say, sometime this afternoon after you get off this session with us, just go and create your GitHub account.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I should probably start doing that now. I'm like literally.
Yeah, like do it today.
Things.
Do it today before like 6 o'clock comes around. Whatever you're doing, if you've got to like clean the toilet, put it aside. Do it today. You know what I mean? Just get it done, so that way you've taken a step towards where you want to go. You've taken a step towards your professional career, right? Okay. And then, yeah, just as the bros say, build shit.
Yeah.
Just Jan, do you have any other life advice that you'd give?
I think you summed it up pretty well. The only thing is that don't get roped into, once you kind of get through the initial things, it's like, just to build, a few things for a reference. Don't get roped into doing stuff for free.
Okay.
That's a very common, and I've suffered it for it a lot. A lot of other people, like, especially like writers, suffer for it as well. That they get shamed or roped into doing stuff for free. So big thing there is to learn how to say no, and really kind of really putting out, you need to be paid to produce stuff.
Jan runs an application called Literary Universe. So he's a writer. He's a software engineer first, but he's a writer, and he runs this platform for writers. And yes, he's absolutely right about that. It's easy to go down that slippery slope of doing free things for people. What you want is an opportunity to show your work to somebody that has access to other people. Like, that's why I said, like, the synagogue is
that is a good one.
Right? Because if like you can get, like, the rabbi knows everybody, right? He knows everybody that's there. So if you do something for the synagogue and they find it useful, and you say, I'm looking for work here, do you know anybody, that you might be able to introduce me to? They tend to be very helpful. I don't think I've ever run into a rabbi that wasn't trying to help the people in his congregation.
Right. I think I get what you mean. Yeah.
So, oh wait, I don't want to be the star here. We're all together here. Okay. So, so I think, like, if you use that as, and if that doesn't work, then try something else. But but again, like, just, I think going and having something to show in a portfolio, like, it doesn't have to be a complicated. It could be one item in your portfolio right now, right? You add another as you go along, but you put that one thing out there, and you go and you say, listen, this is what I do. This is what I'm trying to build a career in this.
I just finished the lesson where you created a quiz.
Oh, cool. An online quiz?
Yeah, it's just like 2 questions, though. It's not like several. But
you can extend it, right, if you wanted to.
Yeah, I could tweak it and make it different.
Yeah. So, just think about, like, what, if the synagogue has its own website, go see what they've got on it. Look and see if there's anything that's missing from your perspective, right? Like, maybe the contact page is not that great, right? Maybe they might have room for an appointment page to meet with a rabbi, right, or somebody else, right? They don't have something like that right now. You know, you can go in with a paper mock-up and say, listen, let me just show you what I'm thinking. Is that this would be a great way for people to get in touch with you, and you can connect it to a calendar, and it's hooked up to like your free time. I'd be happy to work on this for you. And is this something that you might be interested in? They might say no, but here's something else, right? But
Right.
you can also kind of like say, don't take a no, right? Just say, all right, well, if not this, then what, right? That's how you should approach it. It's like, if not this, I'm willing to do free work for you. If not this, then what? Right? This is the
Okay.
career I'm trying to pursue, and I'd really like some help, right? And I'd like to show you that I can do this, and this is something I've done. Show one or two things, and here's an idea that I think would be really great, and go from there. And maybe there is room for like including a chat interface for they have these bots that you can stick onto applications that allow you to, like, when time is not, like when somebody's not there, you can talk to it like it's a support thing, where you might be able to answer some FAQ type questions like, when's the rabbi coming back from from his retreat, right? Or when is the synagogue going to be open? Or is it possible for me to schedule my bat mitzvah, on this date, right? Like, you could think of a few things that might be useful, and then see, so have like a few ideas in your pocket, and then see, where he might go with it, and then create a challenge for yourself. Like, take it as far as you can.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I could talk to the rabbi. I know him personally, so that could work.
There you go. Like, just go and say, it's like, listen, I'm really serious about pursuing this as a career, and and they might say, well, we use an outside company or something like that. It's like, well, not every page has to be an outside company. There's this notion of like subdomains, right? So if you go to like www.mysynagogue.com, right, you could have a separate, and some company like manages that for them. You could say, look, I mean, you can always create a separate domain called like, schedule dot, mysynagogue.com, right, or .org, and that is hosted on a separate website, but it's it's blended in. So there are opportunities. Like, if you run into like, you want to get the opportunity and they're willing to work with you, but they're not sure how, you can reach out to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'll see what I can do to help you, because we're in the same city, so it's not that far. And what?
I need to run, so I'll see you later.
Jan, it's great seeing you. Thanks for joining
Yeah, anytime.
and helping.
Yeah. So have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow, Alan. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you want to, what we could do is we could finish this here, and we could pick this up in like a Google Meet if you want. And so that way, this is not all like, this is, hopefully people are getting some value out of the ideas that are coming up here, right?
Yeah.
If they watch this afterwards, that this is useful to them. And but like the logistics of like how I can help in New York City is something that if anybody wants to reach out to me, they can do that separately.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me just do this here for a second. Wait. So there's, okay, Jan noted. Okay, I'm looking at the chat down here. All right. So let me do this. Did you give me your email address on Meetup?
I can give it to you here if that's
You know what?
easier.
There is a private chat down here if you want. So let me do this. Let me open up a Google Meet.
Okay.
Right, and then I'll just put the Google Meet link in there right now. Okay.
Just,
All right.
right here.
Yeah. I'll just give me 1 second. I'll tell you where.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And So if you go to, are you able to see the chat in
Yeah, the
Studio?
yeah, the little bubble.
And yeah, there is a if you click on that, there are 3 tabs. One is live, one is private,
Oh, okay.
right? If you click to the private one, I just sent you a
Okay, I got it.
link. You got it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, folks. Thanks for joining. And I hope that this has been useful information beyond just what we told you about MeteorJS. If you're getting started with your software career and you're looking for opportunities to get out there and get your stuff out, I hope some of that information that we gave was useful and helpful. And if you have some other advice that you've experienced yourself, coming from your life experience, and you want to share them, please put them in the chat for this video so that others can learn from you also. And with that, say goodbye. Next month, we'll see you here, and we'll be doing that live coding
Bye.
session. All right. Take care, everyone.